Hello there. Katie,
Yeah.
what are we watching today? Several years later.
I'm sorry, I just forgot what the movie was called. The Quiet Room Place.
It's called The Quiet Room Place.
The Quiet. What is it? A Quiet Place?
What do you know about A Quiet Place?
I know it's quiet.
What else?
I've seen the trailer. It seems like everybody has to be really, really quiet in this home because of whatever's outside the home.
So we honestly don't know much about it, and this is weird because it's still in the theater, and we're actually going to see it in the theater. We almost never go
Yeah.
to the cinema. Let's get quiet.
Oh, am I supposed to leave?
You'll notice it's bright out, and we're wearing different clothes. We watched it last night.
Yeah, we got home very late.
Wasn't prepared for how tired we'd be when we got home.
It's also a very draining movie.
Oh my goodness. First off, real quick impressions. I think anyone who is looking forward to being a parent or is a parent, yeah, this is a very, very frightening movie. I watch a lot of horror and it generally doesn't scare me, but I was utterly terrified throughout the running time of this film. And I know it's not going to affect everyone in the same way. There were moments when I had trouble breathing because in the movie, like if you make a sound, then bad things happen. We'll get into that later in the story section. But I noticed the audience was also trying to do the same thing. I mean, we had maybe 10 teenage boys behind us and they were very quiet, uncharacteristically so.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was my experience.
And they all clapped at one point.
Yeah, they all
kind of funny.
They all clapped and something good happens. I was like, oh.
Yeah, it was so good. Very terrifying. I think my heart rate was up for a good hour.
Yeah.
After the movie.
Yeah, so we are going to be ranking certain aspects of the movie as well as the overall movie itself, at least from our perspectives. Our scale is 1 through 5, 1 being unwatchable, 2 pretty great, 3 not good, 4 awesome, and 5 perfect. So the first category we're going to talk about is enjoyability. Katie Rose.
5.
And I would also give it a 5 as well. I can think of very few movies, particularly ones I've seen in theaters, where I have just walked out of the movie with almost nothing bad to say about it. So, a little spoiler for how this is gonna go today. Let's move on to the next section. Visuals. This is probably one of the few categories I'm actually gonna knock it a bit. And the movie looks fine, but it's also not gonna blow you away, so it's pretty middle of the line there. That's not a problem. The VFX were pretty awful with the monster when you're very close to it and you're seeing its inner ear and all that stuff. It just, I don't know, man. Like, maybe it's because I work in VFX and I see this stuff every day, but I thought it was really, really bad. It didn't completely take me out of the movie, but it did take me out of the moment. So I would give it 2.5.
Oh. See, I agree completely, but I would rate it completely differently because I felt there was so much about the movie that was so good that this was probably one of my only real issues.
True.
And honestly, if you've seen Jimmy Neutron, I felt like I was going like into his brain, and the fact that was what I correlated it with, that's what it really like made me think of, was probably not good. So I would actually give it a 4.5 because that was my only problem.
That's fair enough. Our next section will be acting.
Acting, I would give 5. I thought everybody did great.
I would give it a 4. Sound. The hook of the movie is that you can't make any noise. Like, the Earth has been either invaded or somehow there are creatures or aliens on Earth, and if you make a noise, that's the only way that they can hunt, then they will just instantly be on top of you and it's game over. So it's about a family trying to live their life and survive and not make noise. So sound is a huge component of this film. I would rank it very highly on that note. On other notes though, I felt like there were a couple times when the movie was a little bit cheap. Something scary is gonna happen. Monster noise. It wasn't a monster, it was a raccoon. And you're like...
Yeah, they had that jump scare.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, come on. You didn't need to do that. Like, the moment was already scary enough. You didn't have to like crank the audio for that moment. So I think overall I'd give it a 4.5. We'll go 4.5, but just those, there were like, I think 2 jump scare moments having to do with audio that for a film that's so built on inherent suspense and is just so tense for the entirety of its running time, it didn't need any of that.
No. 4.2.
Okay. Very specific.
Very specific. This is one movie that I'm fully okay with the jump scare sounds. Wholeheartedly a fan. Like, yes. Because the sound was the main thing, your senses are even more heightened. So the fact that they made those moments so much louder and like stronger, I feel like it makes sense. You can hear a pin drop. That's how it was. My reason for giving it a lower score was actually not even that, but there was some of the music in it was weird to me.
There's a moment near the end where I do agree with you, and I won't give any spoilers here, but it's terrifying and very violent sequence, and it's also very emotional. But the music decides to hit emotional hard, so you've got strings and stuff going on while terrifying things are happening. And you're like, no, we don't need the melodrama. So yeah, I felt like they were trying to like make sure you feel the emotional core of this sequence here, and it's like, no. The good writing and the great performances, like we feel the emotional core of this scene. You don't need to try and like. But that was the only part where I really felt like I felt that.
Yeah. It bothered me enough to distract me a little bit. Oh, okay, and then just kept going. But that happened multiple times.
Okay, so next up we're getting into story. And we are going to have some spoilers. If you don't want the movie to be spoiled, then go ahead and skip to the time code shown at the bottom of the screen here and jump to our final results. So the story is very, very simple. It's a family in upstate New York. They are trying to survive. They have 3 kids. And right off the bat, the movie shows that it's not going to play with gloves, even though it's rated PG-13. It's like, no, you're expecting this to not be a tough watch. Well, you're wrong. And they immediately show the dangers of making noise by having the monsters just snatch up the youngest child right out of the gate in the movie. And I was not expecting that to happen, to be honest. Right away, you know that this movie's not messing around. They've built an entire existence out of trying to be as quiet as possible. They have pathways of sand. And they don't wear shoes, they don't eat off of plates, they eat off of cabbage leaves. It's very well thought out, it's a very simple premise. Most of humanity is gone, there are these monsters, it's never explained, it doesn't need to be, and this family has to be as quiet as possible. However, for the majority of the movie, the mother is very, very pregnant. And of course, if you have children, you know, there's nothing more quiet than a newborn baby. So obviously, everything that can go wrong does go wrong. It results in some of the most truly terrifying sequences on film.
The oldest child is deaf.
Yes.
She definitely feels like a burden the entire movie, but she is probably the reason why they're alive.
She also feels like a burden because she blames herself for not watching the youngest closely enough so that he wouldn't make so much noise that got him killed at the very beginning of the movie. So there's a lot going on with her. I think every character really blames themselves in some way for what happens to the youngest. The father is always trying to tinker and invent a kind of a hearing aid that will actually work for her, and he's never been able to do it. So between the father and the daughter, she thinks he blames her for the death of his son, and he just feels like he's failed her because he can't
protect her more.
He can't, protect her more or find something that works for her hearing. The way the movie ends is that the father ends up sacrificing himself so that the kids can get away. They reunite with their mother. The hearing aid that he made for her actually resonates at such a high frequency that it screws with these creatures that are essentially just, giant spiders with ears. It really messes up their heads. They end up kind of, because of the father trying to create this thing for his daughter, they end up finding a way to take these things down. It's such a simple story, but at the same time, because it's so simple and focused on the characters and on building the world in which they live and how they're trying to survive, I would give it a 5 personally.
Yes, 5.
Okay.
Completely. I would definitely give it a 5. I came out of the movie just like, this was so heart-wrenching, and it got punched me right in the gut. I just felt like I got the wind knocked out of me because of this really good movie.
And what's incredible is that the major conflict that the two parents are having isn't really the horrifying situation in which they find themselves. The major conflicts they're having is, how can we as people have children and or raise a family in such a dangerous world? And I think that main theme resonates so deeply in our current world with anyone watching it of that same situation, that you cannot help empathizing with these characters. Overall, taking all these categories, adding them up, averaging them, Katie, your final score for the movie was a 4.7, which is just a hair shy of perfect movie-going experience for Katie. For me, it was 4.2, so it was just slightly better than awesome. Word on the street is they are already working on writing a second one.
Fantastic.
Hey, thanks for watching that video. If you liked what you saw, give us a like. If you didn't, don't. We rotate through a series of shows, so there's always something new for you. We also have 2 stores. There's the Hungry Creature Boutique and the Cool People Cool Store. Also, if you like the music you heard in this episode, check out Fractal Impulse on Facebook and Bandcamp and Instagram, whatever social media, and all that stuff. Yeah, cool. Bye.
It's learning. It's called learning.